NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race is officially concluded from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and we see Corey Heim continue his dominating season and wins the race, and we see a lot of chaos throughout the event. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race from New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Team EJP 175. We had quite a bit to talk about from this race, so let's go and talk about it. So at the start of the race, you had Corey Heim lead the field from the outside, with Chandler Smith on the inside, and Ty Majeski gave a really big shot to Chandler Smith going into turn number one, and Chandler Smith went up the racetrack a little bit, and there was near contact. Meanwhile, going in down the back straightaway, actually going into turn number one, there would be some contact as Tanner Gray got sideways right in turn number one, and a bunch of drivers got collected in a big crash, including Connor Mosack, Brent Cruz, and Ben Rhodes were all involved in the wreck. To me, it looked like there was almost contact between Corey LaJoie and Tanner Gray going into turn number one, and that caused some chaos and carnage right there. Just a mistake by both those guys going into one. Tough break for those drivers as Connor Mosack would be out of the race, and a couple of drivers would be affected throughout the event. So then on the restart, Corey Heim lead the field from the outside, but Ty Majeski on the inside, and Corey Heim got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the race lead, and he started pulling away from the field at the point. He started taking off from the field. He had about a half a second lead over Ty Majeski. Ty Majeski kept up quite a bit, but then eventually started fading back as traffic became an issue at this point. Then on lap number 33, one of the dumbest incidents of the day would end up taking place. Going down the front straightaway, you had Daniel Hemrick and Roger Kroof, who were battling for a playoff position at that point in 8th and 9th position. They both would be trying to avoid lap cars of Jason Alexander, Caleb Koster, and going into turn number one, Jason Alexander, who was at the bottom of the track, came up into Caleb Koster, and unfortunately, Daniel Hemrick had nowhere to go and got collected in the incident. I got to be real and honest, I don't know what Jason Alexander and Caleb Koster were doing there. I think that was a bonehead move by both those drivers there. Jason probably should have just let Caleb go at that point. He was at the bottom of the racetrack, but he just went up the track and collected it. And a tough break for Hemrick, who got damaged. Luckily, Hemrick's day wouldn't be over because of it, but a pretty bad move on those guys' parts. That would affect the playoff driver. Just a bonehead move by a bunch of lap cars in the back of the field. During the caution, we see a little bit of strategy where a couple guys end up coming down pit road at this point, including guys like Gio Ruggiero, Daniel Hemrick, Ben Rhodes, Patrick Emerling, Dawson's son, Andres Perez, Christian Eckes, Brent Cruz, Jack Wood, all came down pit road while the rest leaders would stay out. And then on the restart, you had Corey Heim lead the field from the outside with Ty Majeski on the inside. And Ty Majeski had a terrible restart and spun the tires, and Corey Heim was able to clear for the race lead and took off up front. There would then be another caution, I believe, at this point, as I think there was some contact that happened at that point. And basically, I think it was Derek White who unfortunately had a flat tire, hit the outside wall. This would end stage number one with Corey Heim coming out the final corner and winning stage number one. And then on the restart, you had Corey Heim lead the field from the outside with Ty Majeski on the inside, and Corey Heim got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead, and Chandler Smith would move up the second position at the end of that stage, of course, with Corey Heim being the leader. And then under caution, we see a little bit of strategy with Heim, Chandler Smith, Ty Majeski, Raj Kroof, Jake Garcia, Tyler Ankerman all coming down pit road, while a lot of guys that stay out, including Andres Perez, and of course, Gio Ruggiero and all the guys that pitted previously. Then on the restart, Andres Perez lead the field from the outside with Brent Cruz on the inside. Andres Perez got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead. Meanwhile, guys like Corey Heim and Chandler Smith were trying to work their way up to the front on the fresher tires. They were trying to get their way up to the front, while guys like Andres and Gio were trying to pull away from the field at that point. And we see a really good battle at this point between Gio Ruggiero and Andres Perez for the next 10 or 15 laps. It was very difficult to pass throughout the day, but we got a really good battle in the middle portion of this race between those two guys. And meanwhile, Corey Heim is starting to charge his way up to the front and will get up inside of the top five. And then on lap number 98, there would be an incident on the racetrack. I believe it was for a truck. I think Patrick Emerling, who hit the outside wall, got a ton of damage on the truck. Massive carnage into the outside, had contact on the truck. This would bring out the caution. Then all lead lap trucks would then come down pit road, except Roger Kroof, who was running in 10th at that time to try to get stage points, trying to make sure he could lock his way into the next round. And Andres Perez would actually win the race off pit road, followed by Corey Heim and Gio Ruggiero. And then on the restart, you had Roger Kroof lead the field from the outside with Andres Perez on the inside, and Raj Kroof did not get the best restart as Corey Heim made a move to the inside and was able to clear for the race lead as Andres would drop back quite a bit. It looked like he might have maybe had a flat tire at that point. But at the end of stage two, it would not matter as Corey Heim would come out the final corner and would win stage number two. And then on the next restart, after all the pit stops had happened, you had Corey Heim lead the field from the outside with Chandler Swift on the inside. And Corey Heim once again got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead. And at this point, unfortunately for Andres Perez, he would have a flat tire going into turn number 1 and would basically go down. I believe he had a flat tire at that point and would drop back quite a bit. And then about 10 laps later, as Corey Heim continued to dominate, another caution would end up happening as Tyler Tomasi crashed between turn number 1 and turn number 2. As Tyler Tomasi looked like he maybe had a flat tire, hit the outside wall, some contact between Spencer Boyd as well, would make him hit the outside wall. His day would be over. And then we go back green on lap 132. With Corey Heim lead the field from the outside with Gio Ruggiero on the inside. And Corey Heim got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead. But then on the restart on turn number 3, the biggest crash of the day would end up taking place. Matt Cratt, Ben Rhodes, and Tony Breininger were all collided together going into turn number 3. Looked like Breininger went up the track a little bit. Ben Rhodes is in the middle, just a racing deal in that situation. They all collide. They hit the outside wall, and Andres Perez has nowhere to go and gets collected as well. Tough break for the ThorSport drivers who weren't having the best days as it was, and Tony Breininger, who struggled all season long. All those days would be over as they would all be out of the event. And then on the restart, you had Corey Heim lead the field from the outside with Gio Ruggiero on the inside. And Corey Heim got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the lead, with second place being taken by Chandler Smith at that point. And at this point, this would be the final restart of the race as Corey Heim started taking off and pulling away from Chandler Smith as his truck was really, really good on the short run. But as the final laps went in, Chandler Smith was starting to close that gap. His truck seemed to be a lot better on the long run than Corey Heim. He would gain a tenth of a second here, a tenth of a second there, and would cut the gap under a second with about 8 laps to go. And then with 3 to go, he would have about a second lead over Chandler Smith at this point of the race. And Chandler was trying everything he could to get closer to Corey Heim at the end of the event. Becoming a white flag of this race, unless Corey Heim made a mistake, there was no way Chandler Smith was going to get there. And coming out the final corner, Corey Heim puts up a dominant clinic and picks up his 9th truck win of 2025. I believe it was like 18th or 19th career NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series win, and has now tied the record for the most wins in the Craftsman Truck Series in a single season with Gray Biffle, which goes all the way back to 1999. What an absolute impressive and continuous performance for Corey Heim in 2025. He had the fastest truck all day long, strongest truck in the field, got the fastest lap point as well, which is really, really important. He has just been on rails. This track race is very similar to Gateway. If you run good at Gateway, you're going to be a factor to win. So massive congratulations to Corey Heim on continuing his dominant season. And I don't think this will be the last time we're going to see Corey Heim go to victory lane. He's looking to break the record in a couple weeks after Charlotte Roval, which with how dominant he was at Lime Rock and some of the other road courses, I think he's a favorite to win that. Congratulations to Corey Heim winning 2 of the first 3 playoff races as well. Good to see him go out there and pick up the win. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the race results and I'll get my score and thoughts on today's event. So Corey Heim picks up the win. Chandler Smith finishes second. Chandler Smith had a really, really good truck, a top 2, top 3 truck, but he really needed to win this race to have a chance to advance. Unfortunately, just did not have enough points to make it to the next round. He'll be eliminated from the playoffs, which is crazy because I think I predicted he would go all the way to the championship 4, and he probably should still be contending for a championship, how good he's been, but he just had a couple bad races that cost him a shot. But today he had a really, really good run, just not enough to get there, but today it was a great run for Chandler Smith. Unfortunately, he's eliminated, though, from the playoffs. Lane Riggs finished third. Quiet most of the day, ran around that 10th to 15th range of points, but then he charged up to the front as the race progressed and went on and gets a really strong top 5 finish. Continues to show really good speed in these playoffs so far. Great run for him. He finishes third. Gio Ruggiero finishes fourth. He continues to impress in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series this season. He was the best of the rookies by far today. Had a really strong and really impressive run. Ran top 5 majority of the day. Very impressive speed from Gio. He finished fourth. Ty Majeski finished fifth. He started up front, faded back a little bit as the race progressed and went on, but he does get a really strong top 5 finish. He does advance with a really good run today. Strong race for him. He finished fifth. Grant Enfinger finished sixth. He had a new crew chief going into this weekend. He ran top 10, top 15 most of the day, but he does charge up to the front and gets a really strong top 10 finish. Really solid run for Grant Enfinger. Caden Honeycutt finished 7th. It was good to see Stuart Friesen back at the track. By the way, we'll talk about him in a future video coming soon. But a solid day for Caden Honeycutt. Struggled at points. Was running around that 10th to 15th range, but he does come home with a really strong top 10 and 7th. Nice run for him. Corey LaJoie finished 8th. He was kind of involved in a couple incidents throughout the day, unfortunately, but he did show some decent speed. Was in the top 10 quite a bit of this race and does come home with a strong top 10 finish. Solid run for Corey LaJoie. Ninth place finisher Christian Neckes, despite the chaos that happened around him all day and starting in the back and getting involved in a couple incidents throughout the day, he does come home with a really strong top 10 finish. I thought Christian would be a lot better than this weekend than he was, and he certainly had decent speed, not enough to make it, unfortunately, with a great finish. He does get a top 10. And Raj Kurth finished 10th. He ran around 10th most of the day. He did get some safe points, which really got him enough of a cushion to make it to the next round. A solid finish for him, all things considered. With all the chaos, he finishes 10th. Tyler Ankrum finished 11th. A decent day, not a great day for Ankrum. He kind of ran mid-pack most of the day. Just didn't show speed. The McAnally trucks really weren't that great today, to be honest. But he does get a top 15, so not bad, all things considered. Daniel Hemrick finished 12th. He ran 8th to 10th. A lot of this race was never a major factor most of the day, but it does come up with the top 15, so not a bad day, all things considered. Michael Christopher Jr. finishes 13th. I'll give Michael Christopher Jr. a shout out here. He ran up front in quite a bit of this race, so some decent speed and was moving up to the field as the day progressed and went on. He does get a top 15 in his debut, so not bad. I know he's involved with some of the incidents throughout the day, but he does get a decent finish. Not a bad run for him. Dawson Sunday gets top 15 and 14, was up front with some of the strategy early, faded back as the day went on, but he does get a top 15. Andreas Perez finished 15th. I want to give Andreas a shout out. I know he didn't get the finish he deserved, but he had a really solid run today. He led a ton of laps, and I guess strategy played a role for that for sure. Best run I think he's had so far in Craftsman truck competition, just on the speed he showed. He does get a top 15. Jake Garcia finished 16th. A disappointing day for Jake, was never a factor, and unfortunately he's the other driver that is eliminated from the playoffs. Just not a really good run for Jake Garcia. Just didn't show any sort of pace or speed on the track. Qualified decent, but didn't have a great truck. He finishes 16th. Brent Cruz finished 17th. He qualified well, but faded a little bit, and then that damage really affected him throughout the day. I really would love to see if he didn't get that damage early, if he would have been a factor, because he showed some decent speed, especially when he was up front. But tough break for him nonetheless. He finished 17th. Bailey Curry finishes 18th. Not a great run for him. Mason Massey finished 19th. Blake Lothing gets top 20 in 20th place. Not a bad run for him. Spencer Boyd finished 21st. Jack Wood, who fell a couple laps down, finished 22nd. Matt Mills finished 23rd. And then you have all the drivers that got eliminated from the race. So Ben Rose finished 24th. Tony Breidinger finished 25th. Matt Cratton finished 26th. Tyler Tomasi finished 27th. Patrick Emmerling finished 28th. Tanner Gray finished 29th. Derek White finished 30th. Connor Jones, who crashed, finished 31st. Jason Alexander finished 32nd. Caleb Koster finished 33rd. Norm Benning finished 34th. Sia Malazzi finished 35th. And finishing last in 36th is Connor Mosack. So now, let's talk about the overall race as a whole. Actually, let's take a look at the playoff standings really quick going into the first race of the round of 8. Now let's take a look at the playoff standings after going into the round of 8. So Corey Heim is up by, it looks like, he's basically up by 69 points. Then you have Lane Riggs who's up by 22. Daniel Hemrick's only up by 1. And then you have tie for 4 between Tyler Ankrum and Ty Majeski, who are both there. The tiebreaker goes Ankrum because he does have the win. Grant Enfinger is down by 3. Raj Kurth is down by 5. And then you have Caden Honeycutt who's down by 7. Should be a really compelling battle for which 4 will get in. I think it's likely going to be Heim, Riggs, Hemrick. And I'm going to say right now Ty Majeski, that 98 has been showing some speed. I think he'll get up there and get ahead of Ankrum before the next round, for the end of the next round, and we'll determine the champion at that point. So now let's talk about the overall race as a whole and get my score thoughts on today's race. New Hampshire was all right in my opinion. It had some really good moments. He had that really compelling and fun battle between Giro Ruggiero and Andres Perez. That battle was really, really fun to watch. And I think he had some decent racing from time to time. I will say there was a lot of crashes in today's race. I think we had 9 or 10 cautions in this race, which is crazy for a 175 lap event. I think we almost ran 50 plus laps under caution, which is really crazy. Some of those cautions, in my opinion, probably need to be shorter at this point. But there was decent racing at point for sure. It was all right. It had its moments. New Hampshire's a track that doesn't typically put on the best racing out there, but it was kind of like a typical New Hampshire race, except some of the crashes, of course. My score of today's truck race in New Hampshire, I'm going to give this race overall about a 7 to 7.5 out of 10. It was an all right race. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was a solid race overall. My score is 7.5 out of 10. So that is going to be it for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race review from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Turn notifications on so if when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram and support me on Patreon as well. Let's get below that and comment your thoughts below on today's race. Your thoughts on today's race, let me know below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And congratulate Corey Heim on picking up the win. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In a couple hours from now, I should have the review for the Cup Series qualifying session that's coming up here in a couple hours. And then, of course, I will on Sunday Sunday, have most likely starting a live video for the Cup race at New Hampshire, and then of course the race review as well. We got a lot of content coming on people like Haley Deegan, SVG, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bo Wallace, Ross Chastain, Sheldon Creed, Sam Aaron, Frankie Muniz, Cletus Farm, Dodge Ram, Connor Zillish, Junior Motorsports, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, you name it. A lot of great content dropping. Will Brown, Brian Feeney, all the good stuff we'll talk about on the channel really soon. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, buddy.